Are routine in nature and will be passed with one vote of the council. Should any member of the council or the audience wish to have an item removed from the consent agenda for individual consideration, please say so now and it will be removed and considered following the approval of the remaining consent items. Consent items include minutes from the council meeting on February 2nd and 23rd of 2026, payroll for the pay period ending February 23rd in the amount of $245,485.32, staff reports, and FCC street closure request. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
So moved. Second.
And please call the roll.
Councilmember Cernovich.
Aye.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
Councilmember Comnic.
Aye.
Councilmember Colomer.
Aye.
Mayor Moore.
Aye. Next, we have approval of the bills for March 9th in the amount of $382,716.04. Do we have a motion to approve payment of the bills?
So moved. Second.
And any discussion?
Once we all got it. You go ahead. You take care of it.
Do you want to start with the first one since it's A's?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with the A's. Before it got put out on Facebook, why do we have so many Amazon Prime memberships?
We have one Amazon Prime membership.
Okay.
It is a business membership
Okay.
that is actually a discounted rate than the normal, but I think it was like $300 or $400 off. And we just divided it among each department that uses it.
So as a business one, it costs different than what you or I would pay if we're an
Yes.
individual. Do you know what that cost is for business? I mean, it's $779 that we're paying. Is that the total cost of the $300 off? Or is that half of it? What do we?
That's what.
Is our total year? Who all uses that Amazon? Between all these departments here.
Admin, public works, so street, water, sewer, police, fire, pretty much everybody uses it.
Every department uses
Yep.
this, so the 7790 divided by every department.
I think it was 10 departments.
And we find that very beneficial versus going to local sources or anything else?
There's quite a few things that we can't get local. There's specialized things, ink and toner that we can't get local. Usually we try to go local if at all possible,
Okay.
and if we can't, we go to Amazon.
Okay, just trying to do our due diligence here. and make
Yep,
sure that we're-
absolutely.
I only laughed when you asked because I had asked her that this afternoon.
Yeah.
Well, that was the first thing that was glaring to me. I was like, wait, why do we have so many memberships?
Yeah, and I know that's already been posted on Facebook, and it's a question, so I was prepared.
Yeah, okay, good, thank you.
Yep.
I had a question for the Davenport Electric contract. With the accident there, we have to pay for that, the light? Because there's a light that we had to fix.
Well, street lights?
Yeah, so.
Well, the traffic light.
The traffic light, yeah.
Yeah. no, not street.
Damage in an accident, was there at fault insurance or state with it being on a
So they
North
would have
Main
to come
on
out.
state route?
They would, no matter what, they have to come out and fix it, and we pay. And then if it was not something our fault, and we have the person's information, we turn all of that into our insurance, and then they try to go after their insurance for reimbursement.
So it's our responsibility because of that agreement with the state to maintain the routes within our boundaries,
Yes.
right? But then now on the other side, do we have the motorist's information, or is this potentially an at-fault
And
situation?
are we pursuing it if it is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All of those, yes.
All right, thank you, appreciate it.
On that same page, Crawford, Murphy, Tilly. So I think by this point, maybe you expect these questions when we see these. What, can you explain the deliverable? And from now, just kind of moving forward, when we have Crawford, Murphy, Tilly, who is our water system recapitalization engineer firm, and Hutchinson for streets, let's just get that presentation out publicly when we have those bills on here. That's, as an expectation, I would just like to set that.
Yeah, absolutely, and CMT did provide an update for that project. I think it was last week. And this is the source water improvement project, so
Okay.
it's, the first large chunk of it is going after $4.8 million in state revolving fund loans to improve wells and source water in the town.
Yep.
And that's a major investment that we're seeking, and that's why you see the invoice amount there. We're continuing to still target the same deadlines. Basically, in the update that they gave us, it was just a sliding sort of intermediate milestones.
A sliding?
Yeah,
To the right?
It's the Illinois Water Survey people that are being a bit unresponsive. But I'm in direct contact with them now to make sure that they have everything they need to work through that, whatever it was that the hang-up was that they had with the whole process that CMT had started.
So with this type of project, I'm familiar with the phrase of POAM, Project Objectives and Milestones. Do you have a document like that with CMT?
Yeah, when we did the public hearing in November, that project plan was part of the packet.
Yep.
And in that plan, it dives into all of those milestones and objectives.
So we're continuing to document reasons why it's sliding?
Yes,
All
yes,
right.
and that's what the update was that was provided by CMT.
All right, and you're happy with the reasons?
Sure, yeah, it's out of their control. The Illinois State Water, it's like IWIP or the IWSP. They needed to change their person of contact to me so that we can start, they want the 2025, like the amount of gallons we pumped, everything that came out of every well. I need to get down that, 12-month review on what that was.
Okay.
So I reached out to Ryan Bachowitz to get those figures.
Yep.
Because most of the time when he does a presentation, or when he sends, what he sends, what you see in the packet, is mostly just charts.
Yep.
So I just requested the spreadsheet so I can copy paste it. And then on the survey water side, the IWSP side, they had us linked, and not to Kewanee, but to Morton. So we're sorting out the back end. It's a facility ID number, I think, that was misassigned. But either way, yeah.
And we're further satisfied that work that can be done concurrently is being done concurrently and not waiting for these linear things to happen? Like they're designing and still continuing along the process of the scope of work that will need to be approved before going out for bid, once we do get word on whether or not we get funding through these state grants?
Yeah, in general, the design requirements are pretty straightforward. I think much of this is just pursuing compliance and the rest of the hoops that you have to jump through to make sure that you qualify.
So then can we understand that the designs are at what percentage of completion?
They haven't issued construction plans yet, so the designs won't come through if the funding secured. Some engineering money that we don't have.
But you just told me that the designs were straightforward.
Sure, but that work won't be initiated until funding is secured for it.
Well, then what was the
multi-phase
$33,000
design.
for?
That's for pushing forward this project to qualify for the state revolving fund loan.
And I don't want to be troublesome here, Chris, but I guess what I just heard was that what we're moving forward was moving to the right, schedule-wise, because we had to replace you as a point of contact with the IEWA. And so what are they moving forward for $33,000?
The final July when we have this approval or not, that's not changing.
Okay.
There was some March dates in there that are going to be pushed a little bit because of this technical snafu that we ran into. So
Okay.
it's a multi-phase engineering project. Right now, what we're doing is compliance, studies, permitting, the interaction with EPA to make sure that all of those requirements are met.
Okay.
And so that's what I would call it, phase one.
Okay.
So we haven't moved to phase two or phase three.
All right. Please, and the minute you sense, concern, risk in the project, we need to know.
Well, when you let us know, we'll go through the city manager for that.
Curiosity here, we don't need to spend a lot of time on it, but NTech Services, we have a quarterly HVAC tech support program of $1,400. Is tech support for our HVAC critical to our budget?
It's not just tech support, so this guarantees on-call service. We've had a long-standing agreement with NTech to do this. before I got here, so I'm just continuing to manage that relationship. We have had to call them in for various, like, they provide a software that allows us to monitor every bit of the HVAC in this building, and it throws alerts at us for preventive maintenance and things like that. So I've already been checking that system. I've had them come out and do service calls under that system, and that quarterly fee guarantees that we'll get immediate service at minimal charge.
Okay. This is like something that I will be asking like during budget time, what it saved us. Usually tech support for a government organization is a little bit gold plating. So we want to make sure that we're getting our dollars value.
Sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to show you the system. It's actually really cool.
Galesburg Builder Supply, 41.9 tons of cold mix. What are we doing with the cold mix? And didn't we just purchase a, forgive me, but a hot mix trailer to do some hot patching around town? So can you explain to me and maybe everybody else, what's the plan with the cold mix and is it used in that?
So we've done a good amount of reinforcement of the edges of the roads that were crumbling away due to winter weathering and just general traffic. So we had quite a few complaints about edges of roads crumbling, especially near schools, that were causing concerns and creating risk that we didn't think was worth leaving or just throwing rock on. So that's what we've been doing with cold patches, reinforcing the side of the road. And then just in general, that volume, like we're using it in various places all over town when we can't get the hot mix out there.
Okay, it just seems like a very large number, particularly when I thought we were focused on hot mix. So this cold mix, this is not going to be used on Elm Street, correct? By Central School?
No, I don't think so.
Well, you just mentioned some edges of the road crumbling, and Elm Street near Central School has yet to be repaired after the water main repairs last year.
Okay, yeah,
And it's still gravel.
There's no plan for that at this point.
There should be a plan for that because we approved money for Hutchinson.
There's a plan for the road, but not for cold patch.
Okay, good, okay, got it, perfect. Hutchinson East Street drainage design, is this for the bottom of the hill issue?
This is for the culvert and the undermining the road that was occurring from the enclosed.
Okay.
That one should be wrapping up pretty soon. We should be able to go out and actually purchase the culvert that we need to put in there.
Are we putting it in or are we gonna contract this out for bid?
We'll put it in.
Okay. That's all, thank you, appreciate it.
Anybody else? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Baker?
Aye.
Councilmember Comnic?
Aye.
Councilmember Colomer?
Aye.
Councilmember Cernovich?
Aye.
Mayor Moore?
Aye. Now we have some awards to hand out. Our fire chief, Stephen Welgott, will be handing that.
That's not something we can do.
Did you break it?
We're good. All right. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to come up here tonight and present these awards. It's my first time I've had to do a head count for occupancy in this room.
A little crowded.
You're perfectly fine, Captain.
The career of being a firefighter has many ups and downs. Any emergency can literally become a life or death situation. It is something our firefighter paramedics train for daily to create the best possible outcome for themselves and the patients they are taking care of. In some situations, events leading up to the arrival of the ambulance can have a profound impact on the outcome of patient care. One of the important aspects is the help of bystanders who witness a sudden cardiac emergency and decide to aid the affected person. It's a common occurrence for bystanders to freeze or avoid being involved because they don't want to create a bigger problem or simply don't know what to do in that type of situation. This is understandable, which is why we encourage people to learn the basics of CPR as private citizens, giving them the confidence to act. I can't explain how invaluable starting CPR immediately can positively impact patients' outcome. But here are a few statistics to keep in mind. Annually, around 350,000 people experience sudden cardiac arrest. 90% of these people will die. From the 10% of the survivors, only 9% of those will actually recover. Early CPR and defibrillation improve that number by up to 300%. Tonight, we're here to recognize the outstanding actions from bystanders, coworkers, and police officers which intimately affected the pre-hospital care provided to a patient prior to EMS arrival. These actions allowed our firefighter paramedics the ability to concentrate on more advanced patient care, leading to a successful delivery to St. Luke's emergency room staff, and ultimately, patient leaving the hospital and returning home. It's with great excitement that I can introduce to you 3 actual patients from successful cardiac arrest emergencies who have happily agreed to be present tonight to recognize and personally thank the citizens, coworkers, police officers, firefighters, and emergency room staff responsible for helping save their lives, and to present them with the Kewanee Fire Department's Lifesaver Award. First one, August 25th of 2025. On the evening of Monday, August 25th, 2025, at approximately 8 p.m., Mr. Dean Olson was on duty at the Kewanee Life Skills Reentry Facility on Kentville Road, just east of Kewanee. His co-workers noticed Dean having a sudden seizure-like episode and then collapsing to the floor. His co-workers and an off-duty nurse immediately began CPR. They were able to attach a defibrillator, help him breathe, obtain a blood sample, and shock his heart 4 times, all while continually doing CPR. Kewanee firefighters arrived on scene and took over patient care. They were able to complete advanced medication administration as well as 3 more shocks to the heart, the last of which got Mr. Olson's pulse to return. Firefighters transferred Mr. Olson to St. Luke's emergency room, where the dedicated staff took over. They were able to stabilize him and prepare him to be moved to Peoria. Mr. Olson is here tonight to present the awards to the people responsible for his survival. At this time, we'd like to invite him up to the front room. Dean? As I call your name, please come to the front of the room. Mr. Olson's co-workers, Mr. Zarek Jenkins, Mr. Austin Majeski, and Cole Stock. We'd also like to have the off-duty nurse, Christine Wexell, come up to the front.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. So, thank you very much.
Congratulations. We'd like for you to stay up here for another minute while our firefighters are recognized. For the firefighters working the ambulance that evening, please come up front when your name is called. Lieutenant Rob Horn. Engineer Greg Rusk. And Engineer Alex Brunson.
Thank you very much.
These awards read: Kewanee Fire Department Lifesaver Award in recognition of your courageous and heroic actions taken to preserve human life on August 25th, 2025. Congratulations.
Group picture. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Take your seats, if you will. Our next event happened only 5 days later. While riding his four-wheeler, Mr. Kim Cernovich suffered a sudden cardiac event, causing him to crash his four-wheeler. Passing motorist, who still remains unknown, called 911 and reported the accident. Kewanee police officers were first on the scene, and one of them immediately started CPR. He was soon relieved by another officer who continued CPR until the ambulance arrived. The ambulance crew continued CPR and multiple other interventions until ultimately transporting him to St. Luke's Medical Center, where he eventually took a helicopter to another hospital. The immediate and sustained CPR efforts of the police officers and the ambulance crew ultimately led to Kim's overall recovery and return to Kewanee, allowing him the opportunity to be here tonight. Kim, would you please come forward? At this time, I'd like our two hero police officers please come forward to receive your recognition. Kewanee Police Officer Matt DeClerc. Kewanee Police Officer Jacob Lang. Our firefighters working that day, please come up. Again, Lieutenant Rob Horn. Engineer Jeffrey Roof. Engineer Andrew Welgott. And firefighter Kyle McCready. Gentlemen, well done. Thank you.
Sir, you want to go over here with the shop?
Get out of the way for everybody else. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our third event being recognized tonight happened while completing a task each of us has done at some point in our lives, shoveling snow in the driveway. Mr. Terry E.B. suffered a sudden cardiac event. Mr. E.B. was fortunate enough to have two bystanders notice him on the ground and check to see if he was okay. These two bystanders recognized the emergency and called 911 and began doing CPR. They continued their efforts until the ambulance arrived and were relieved by the paramedics. Paramedics continued CPR and multiple drug interventions as well as shocking the patient. These efforts continued all the way to the hospital and care was turned over to the emergency department at St. Luke's Medical Center. The combination of these three groups led to Mr. Eby walking out of the hospital and returning to his family. Mr. Eby, would you please come forward? Now we'd like to introduce you to your two heroes, Kylie Conlon and Tara Hewitt. And now our firefighters, Captain Bennett Reber could not be with us tonight, Engineer Greg Rusk, Engineer Sean Frank, firefighter Brendan Stevens, and firefighter Miller Jansen. Congratulations to all of you, John. Well done. Thank you. Last but certainly not least, can I please have the representatives of St. Luke's Medical Center Emergency Department please come forward? For those of you in the public who didn't know, each one of the patients who is treated and transported on our ambulance gets taken to St. Luke's Medical Center. It is a blessing for our community our size to have a facility of this type to continue the care that we begin. We truly appreciate all you do for us and the community as a whole. We are proud to present your entire department with the Kewanee Fire Department Lifesaver Award that reads, "In recognition of your courageous and heroic actions taken to preserve human life every day of the year. Thank you for all you do." Thank you. As the fire chief, I'd like to take one quick moment to commend the firefighters present here tonight. These firefighters are a testament to the professionalism the residents of Kewanee have come to expect. They received a certificate memorializing their actions and a uniform pin identifying their accomplishment. Each and every one of them will tell you they're just doing their job, just like all of their colleagues in the department. The amount of training these firefighters complete is awe-inspiring. I want every resident of Kewanee to be aware of their dedication to you. Lastly, the fire department is in the process of setting up regular CPR classes that will be offered to anyone who wants to learn. The presentations tonight could happen much more often if everyone learned the basics of CPR. The life you save could be a friend or a loved one. Even if it isn't, you'll probably make a new friend in the person you helped save. Please call the fire department and watch our Facebook page for updates on classes. Really lastly this time, following the council meeting, some of our award recipients and the presenters themselves will be mingling in the rotunda for a meet and greet. We'll be serving cookies and refreshments, and everybody is welcome for pictures and conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. I have said it many times, and I will say it till the day I die. Kewanee has some of the best people in our department anywhere has to offer. And I would put our fire department, our police department, our public works department up against any city, anywhere, anytime. We have outstanding employees, and we have an outstanding medical facility to support them people. So thank you to everybody. We will move on to public comment. If there's anyone who wishes to address the council regarding anything that is not on the agenda, please step up to the microphone, state your name, and please bear in mind that there is a 3-minute time limit per speaker.
And they're gone.
And they're leaving us.
You only get them for a short time.
We're being ghosted. We'll let things calm down a little bit before we try to hear what's being said on the monitor.
You can adjust it. Yeah.
I don't know. Absolutely. It just was the right place at the right time.
Okay, let's, obviously, we have no public comments, they're all leaving us. So we'll move on to new business. We're going to open up with a presentation on Placer AI.
And we are joined by Matt Verdon, who is an account executive with Placer AI.
What was the last name?
Verdun, Verdun.
Welcome, Matt, can you hear us? Oh, we can't hear you. There we go, now we got you.
Awesome. It is a little bit tough to hear some background noise, so if there are some questions, I'll have Chris help field them at the end. But it is a pleasure to meet everyone, and I want to extend a huge thank you to everyone that is in the room for allowing me to present on behalf of Placer. Now, Casey did mention that there were some awards being given out to firefighters. On behalf of myself and Placer, I want to congratulate all of those individuals. And additionally, thank you for the service that you provide to your community. So I'm very excited to show a little bit about what Placer has to offer. I spoke with Casey and with Chris a little bit about some use cases regarding economic development, event analysis and impact, as well as some things centered around infrastructure as well too. So as I said, we'll save all the questions for the end. This should take about 25-30 minutes to get through everything, but then we'll field those questions if there are any. But let me go ahead and share my screen, and bear with me, I'm typically used to using Zoom, so it may take a minute just for me to get this up on my end. Can everybody see that?
Got it.
Yep.
Perfect. Awesome. So a little bit about Placer. We are the location analytics company. We got our start within commercial real estate. We were initially founded as a commercial real estate platform. We then branched into working with national retail brands and have since branched into 30 plus different industries. And this deck is a little outdated, but now currently work with around 5,500 total customers, with about nearly 2,000 of those customers being within the civic space. So municipalities, destination marketing organizations, economic development organizations, as well as chambers of commerce. How Placer actually works is we provide foot traffic data for any physical place in the United States. And how we actually get this information is through partnerships, strategic partnerships with mobile applications. So these are typically lifestyle applications where users of these apps are asked to share their location at all times while using the app or never. So it is consensually based, as Placer is a privacy-first company. So users of these apps, once they download them, they are prompted that question, and if they do, select always, they are then eligible to be added to what Placer calls our panel of devices. Now, this panel is 30 million mobile devices across the entire United States. And one of the things that is unique to Placer within the location analytics space is that we don't buy our data from data brokers. So these partnerships, we're not trading any information with these app partners. There's no understanding of that. It is simply them de-identifying the device information and then sharing the location of that device. So Placer does not receive any personally identifiable information of any device that is in its panel. We actually have access of up to 90 million total devices within that panel, but have found that that 30 million has allowed us to then be as accurate as we want to be, which is what you will see here, that unparalleled accuracy. This data allows us to do a lot of different things. As I mentioned, some of the conversations that I've had with Casey and Chris, things like economic development, event analysis and impact, as well as understanding how we can help with projects along with infrastructure. Outside of that, simply put, it allows us to understand how many people visit a place through aggregated data. It also allows us to understand an aggregated level of where these devices are coming from. It then allows us to better understand what these devices like to do. Where do they like to shop? What device habits do they have? Helping us get a better understanding of those offline journeys to help with those different projects. Finally, the biggest piece of that is we take that location and, data and we overlay it with third-party data sets like census data to then build a demographic profile of these visitors to help tailor the experiences of a community directly to the people that are living there, as well as to the people that are visiting from out of town. So we'll focus on some of these things today, and it brings me over to our platform itself. Now, within Placer, you have the ability to do a lot of things. One, you can look at individual properties. These are commercial properties or vacant pieces of land or roadways. Or you can look at the city or a downtown area as a whole. Now, transparently, I was on a clock today to try and get the downtown area geofenced for a part of this demo, but we will take a look at the actual city itself for today. But there are ways that you can look at this data at a macro view or a micro view, allowing for some of these things to take place. So the first section that we'll actually take a look at for today is going to be this market section, so the city of Kewanee as a whole, and we're going to be looking at the date ranges of August 29th to September 1st, so Kewanee Hog Days from last year. And overall, what this allows us to do is get a better understanding of something like an impact of an event like this to the city. And what I mean by that is we'll take a look at first this out-of-market visitors. So out-of-market visitors within this market section are qualified as anybody that doesn't live or work within the city. So these could be people that live a mile outside of the city boundaries. These could be people that live across the country. We see, just for that weekend alone, there were 30,500 total out-of-market visitors that came into the city limits that we have geofenced within the platform. Now we'll touch base a little bit more on the total amount of visits. This non-residence visit number actually is accounting for employees at the moment, but we can filter that down to exclude those employees as well. But one of the things I want to touch on is actually the resident population. You'll see that here we have Census 2023 that is next to it. You may be asking, Matt, if you don't collect any PII from these devices, how do you understand a resident population? And that is a fantastic question to ask yourself, because the answer to that is what we do is we take a look at our panel. So what we can do is we can understand habits of a device. So if a device is continuously going back to the same latitude and longitude over about a 6 to 8 week period, and it stays there from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. on a Monday through Friday basis, we on our end at Placer are going to understand that that is likely a home location for that device. So we take information like that is aggregated within about a 250 to 500 foot radius, so we don't know the actual address of where that device is going. When we understand that overlaying that with things like census data allows us to build a real-time and accurate picture of what resident population looks like for a particular area. Now, as I come down, some of the things that we can see within this are trends of these populations. So for an event like this, we may look at just the out-of-market visitors. And that's where we can actually direct our attention to this visitors tab here on the left side. So this will allow us to get a better understanding of what the actual visitation to the city was on each one of these days of the event. We can see here on Friday, it was about 9,400 total out-of-market people that visited the city. On Saturday, we see that number jump incrementally up to about almost 15,000 total people. So again, this helps us even understand and fine-tune these events. So if we see over time using historical data from Placer that goes back all the way to 2019, and seeing are there particular days where maybe we have music going on at these events, or maybe there's particular food vendors that come in for only a couple of days. Are there the days that those people are there driving more traffic so that we can fine-tune these events and allow for the most impact in bringing the most people in? Now, Additionally, we can look and we can see, okay, where do these visitors for an event like this come from? How widespread is the visitation for an event like this? And how can we use that for things like maybe grants, applying for grants, tourism grants, to revitalize our downtown area? Maybe that's something that is on the docket for 5 or 10 years down the road. I've worked with a lot of different municipalities where we've done that actually. And we've taken a look at a large event. One in particular is a municipality similar in size out of Indiana, where we look at their Apple Festival, and we've looked at how far and wide do people travel to get there for that particular weekend, and utilizing that information to then better understand the demographics of these people. Maybe they are lower class individuals where we can then not only understand the ability to go out and get tourism grants, but then find grants that allow us to then say we're serving those lower income brackets as well. Now here's what a snapshot of the demographics would look like. And what this is doing right now is actually using data from a data set called PopStats. This company, STI, actually uses census data as one of its collection methods. All of their data is collected through readily public available data. So things like census data, Bureau of Labor Statistics, all of those types of information. Public IRS data as well. So what it does is it looks at where those visitors come from, and it understands, based off of those approximate home locations, who are these individuals in relation to, in this case, Illinois residents. So for something like this, we can see that the out-of-market visitors that are coming into Kewanee during the course of this weekend, their average household median income is about $64,000 per year, whereas Illinois residents is around $82,000 a year. Now it also shows ethnicities, bachelor's degree or higher, so those education levels, and then typical household persons per household as well too. Now I'm going to flip back to our overview section here, because one of the things that we have the ability to do within this is actually understand when this visitation
Sorry, Mark,
is taking
Matt,
place.
can I pause you there? Can you go back to
Yes.
the visitors tab and look at the bar chart
course.
again that you were just finishing up on?
Yes, I can. So what are you referring to? The demographics here?
So those are income levels at the bottom there.
Is there income levels? Okay.
Yeah.
We just can't see very well. And so, okay, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, let's see. if we
We'll
can-
get it to send like a slide deck type.
Yeah, that'd be very beneficial.
Is there something additional?
No, they just wanted to know what the x-axis was on that chart.
Yes, so yeah, this would it's just bracketing these different income levels. So this helps us get a better idea as well into what percentage of these visitors are falling within that particular bracket. So in this case, we see $50,000 to almost $100,000 as a median household income. That actually makes up about 29% of the total out-of-market visitors that are coming in for this particular weekend.
Perfect, thank you.
And this is still all an example of that Apple Fest town.
Is this a Kewanee specific example? It is a Kewanee example, right? Yeah, this is a hog days example.
Oh, it's a hog days?
Yes.
Yep, this is specific to holidays of 2025.
And then you pull from hog days. Okay.
So
Yeah.
what we buying this area, collecting information from the
Yes.
No other questions, Matt, please continue.
Perfect, awesome. So, as I was saying, additionally, what we can start to understand is when these visits are starting to take place. This has been beneficial on a couple of different accounts. One, it helps with things like vendors understanding when vendors may want to be open and closing, so we can look and see, over the course of this day when these out-of-market visitors and even when residents and employees are here. Additionally, we can understand this on a level of maybe even just a public safety and understanding maybe where we want to or when we want to station police or things like that or security for these events. Now, one of the biggest things after understanding the impact of an event is really understanding how can we put this into perspective of economic development. So one of the ways that we can do that is really through, again, I'm going to go back to that visitors tab, is really understanding, one, not only where these visitors come from, but what are the things that they like to do. And so what we're looking at here is visitors' top places. So this is still looking at that particular weekend. And it's showing based off of the total number of visitors that were there for the course of this weekend, where did these individuals actually spend some time over the course of that same time frame? So Walmart on Tenney Street there was actually was the top visited place by out-of-market visitors during this time frame, and nearly 29% of them actually visited there during hog days. Now we can see some smaller businesses on there. One of my favorite parts about this is we can actually flip off the chain locations. So now we can actually identify those non-chains only, and we see Cerno's, which is actually a favorite place of mine in the downtown area. 13.8% of out-of-market visitors actually visited Cerno's that weekend as well too. So 4,200 total visitors. This is fantastic for a couple of different things. From an economic impact perspective, it's great to tell these local businesses, hey, here's how much traffic was driven to your locations over the course of an event like this. It helps put in perspective how much revenue may be being generated to the community during an event like this. But additionally, it helps you understand what draws people to your community. And then additionally helps you then look outside of your community and say, what is it maybe that we're missing?
Chris, I have a question.
And that's where this secondary report. Yep. Casey, you got something for me?
Yes, Councilman Cernovich has a question.
Okay.
Just since we're looking at holidays, you mentioned earlier, one of the things that we're going to get from the community is privacy concerns. You mentioned the 250 to 300 foot error to a degree when you were discussing that
His home location between 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. When we're talking about hog days and the dominant location is the intersection of Tremont and 3rd, how are you differentiating between Fernando's, Cerno's, and just someone who's down at the fair?
I heard most of that, and correct me if I didn't hear it entirely. A big understanding or a big portion of that question is understanding how are we discerning between Cerno's and Fernando's. Is that correct?
Correct. Well, and the midway, because right outside Cerno's, you've got the community band.
You also have rides. So when you are discussing the location accuracy kind of error or, lack of error there, how are you differentiating between a Cerno's visitor or a Fernando's visitor or just someone who's going to the Hog Days Midway?
Great question. So now I fully understand what your question is. So that 250 kind of foot to 500 foot error is actually only for home locations. So we obscured that so that people don't know addresses when looking at things like our dot density map, which is a piece of the platform where it'll actually show a representation of 50 devices within a census block level. When we look at things like Cerno's, for example, we've built geofences around these. And these are manually drawn based off of things like Google Maps imagery to better understand the boundaries of these actual locations. So there is a degree of error within that, meaning there may be something that is, let's say, a closed business now that pops up occasionally within a report or something along those lines. But the degree of accuracy within actually measuring the visits within those buildings is between 93 and 98% accurate, and that actually comes from back tests that get run by our current customers like developers, these large national retail brands, and even customers like Major League Sports or amusement parks as well, kind of them back testing that against their current internal data.
That was a good answer. Thank you, Matt. So just to summarize, the 200 to 300 foot thing is only to anonymize people's home locations, whereas the geofencing around businesses is much more precise.
Exactly, yes. Those people have to cross that geofence threshold in order to even be counted for a visit. In a lot of instances as well, we have minimum duration thresholds as well too, that they have to stay there.
Right, and those, you can choose what type of duration you're looking for. So if you want to see only people that were there for longer than a half an hour or et cetera, those options are available.
Yep, correct. Now, great questions. Additionally, what we can start to do on top of this, as I mentioned, is understand what the community may be missing, even just outside of something like hog days. So what I mean by that is we can then start to better understand the resident population as a whole. So going back to, as I mentioned before, we understand this resident population by building it over things like census data and understanding that panel of where these devices rest over time within that panel. So taking that understanding, we're then able to build out things like that resident population, and based off of that, we see, okay, people that are within those city limits, when they leave, where do they go? And some of that comes out into those top visited places again. So right now, what this is looking at is the top visited places of residents of Kewanee in the last 12 months. So shops at 53rd and Elmore in Davenport is actually one of the top visited places within, resident community. So 37.4% of residents have visited there in the last 12 months. Now, where this becomes extremely available and important from an economic development lens is utilizing this and saying, well, we can now open this up and look at data for these, shopping centers and say, well, what are the top tenants within these shopping centers? And we can tie that visitation back to our zip code and say, well, we make up 30% of the visitation to, let's say, Rock River Plaza here in Moline. And if that's the case, maybe there's a particular tenant within Rock River Plaza that would drive traffic within our community if this was here. I'll use the example of a Chick-fil-A or a McDonald's or something along those lines. Now, additionally, off of that, you can branch that information and say, okay, if this is a top location for not only our residents, but also people that visit our community, we can now match that information demographically. So we can look at that shopping center and say, if it is a Chick-fil-A, that Chick-fil-A location or all Chick-fil-A locations within the particular DMA have these particular demographic qualities. And I'm going to add back in here out-of-market resident visitors and employees. And we can then match that information to the demographic information of those three classifications of people. So again, that pop stats data set here. Now you'll notice some of the information here, like average income per person for employees and out-of-market visitors, there is nothing showing. Again, this is a privacy standard for us. This is being based off of those census blocks that visitation is coming from, so we won't share that information. But because census data and IRS data that's publicly available is being used in this particular data set, for residents, it's a lot easier because we know that this is information that they are consensually filling out themselves. So there's a lot of information within here, and what this actually does is it benchmarks against a national or a state average. And what I mean by that is with something like household median income, you're able to say, well, residents of Kewanee make about $50,000 of household median income, and that aligns where nationally. So everything is given a baseline score of 100, and in this instance, it would then say, residents are about 38% below the state average, or employees are, X amount below, or out-of-market visitors are X amount below. Now, before I start to flip over to some of the infrastructure use cases as well, I do want to pause and see if there's any final questions that are top of mind for anybody as far as economic development use cases or any of the data that we've looked at so far.
Any other questions? No other questions?
No other questions? Perfect. Now, as I mentioned, some of the other use cases we've spoken about with Casey and Chris have been along the lines of infrastructure. One of the two main things that we've spoken about is one of the intersections has been Monroe and 7th Street. In particular, this is an area that's right near the school where there aren't a lot of stop signs in this residential piece of the community. So Roadblazer can start to help on initiatives like this as well, and understanding if this is something that we would need to implement more stop signs, is getting a better understanding of that vehicle traffic in an area like that. So right now, this is actually looking at 81 and 78, the intersection where they meet, and we can zoom in on that. And what this starts to do, it starts to give us different colors of each roadway. Now, each one of these colors is a representation of cars per day. And you can click into this and actually say, okay, well, not only on both sides of the street, but in one particular direction, what is the average daily volume of cars coming down that particular roadway? So not only just things like roadway safety and implementation of stop signs and things along those lines, or let's say speed bumps, but even things like prioritization of rehabbing this infrastructure, which roadways need work and which roadways actually get the most traffic. This is great because it's readily available at the touch of a fingertip, where as a community right now, you may have to go to IDOT and try and get some of this information, and you're waiting on IDOT. Or additionally, there may be information that IDOT doesn't have on particular roadways that Placer may. So you can click in and you can see here, just like right through the actual portion of the intersection on 78 there, going from point A to point B. Right now we're seeing about 3,500 total cars that come through here on a given day. And it actually breaks down per hour as well too, when they're coming through. So when those heavy parts of the day are. So for something like Monroe and 7th, we can look at the surrounding areas and understand, is it busy during school day hours or days of the week that children are going to be around. Now I'll flip over actually to that portion of the data set, because additionally some of the things that we can look at are those visitor journey routes. Of course, because I have so many tabs open, things are not starting to reload. So let me try and reload this again really quickly. But what this visitor journey routes will do is it will actually look at this point of interest that we've developed, this pin that we've dropped, and it will actually give us a better understanding of where these visits, what direction they're occurring from, and where they go afterwards. There we go. Okay, computer, there we go. So what I mean by that is we can see here, this is looking at that intersection there, around Monroe and 7th. And we can see the direction of where most of this traffic is actually originating from. So it comes through Main Street there and actually turns off, I believe, if my memory serves, at 2nd Street. Yes, 2nd Street. We can see it actually mainly actually then comes down in from the north and then moves east. So this helps prioritize some of those areas as well too. And then here's what some of the hourly visits on a point of interest like this. Oh, got a question?
Yeah, 1 second, pause there, Matt. Data confusion, what's the question?
Well, what I mean by, like, you know, we're looking at the traffic to Bell Alexander School, correct?
Sorry, Matt, can you clarify traffic to Bell Alexander School?
So not particularly to the school. This is the intersection of Monroe and 7th, just north, a block north of the school. Actually, that brings me to a point. The school is actually a data point that we would not share any data on. We will not will not geofence any institutions where it is heavily users under the age of 18. So schools, a lot of playgrounds, youth centers, daycares, those things like that. We won't even geofence or share data on.
Sure. So yeah, we're not looking directly at traffic going to school. We're looking at an uncontrolled intersection where there was recently some residents raising concerns about whether or not we should have a stop or a yield or something like that there.
Okay, I guess I'm just trying to see the data correlation. You know, we watched it come up 78.
Take a right on 34, which is natural, it's a US highway, and then come down to this intersection.
Yeah, it's showing most of the people that cross through that intersection are coming from the west, which
This is the first time I'm seeing that data, because last time we met, I asked him to pull it.
Yeah, so this starts to raise a hypothesis in my mind that this likely could be traffic to the school. So maybe pickup lines, things like that, where heavily a lot of the traffic is coming in from Route 34 and heading, from the northern blocks down south, because we do see too, as well, some of that traffic is then in the orange here on the southern portion too. So this kind of raises a hypothesis to me of maybe pickup from the school. Additionally, it could be as much as, maybe people are avoiding some sort of stop signs within the area between, 6th Street and Monroe here too. Maybe they are avoiding some sort of stop signs within here.
Yeah, I mean, that hard left on 7th Street before you cut down Monroe instead of going straight to Lake Street, that says a lot right there.
So how are you able to confirm the accuracy of the data?
Matt, the question is about the accuracy of this traffic data.
Yep, so this data that we're looking at here is still based off of Placer. So it's actually looking at, right now, if I zoom in a little bit further, this is looking at a ring radius that goes over that intersection. So that ring radius is the same as a geofence for us. Now in this instance, we're looking at all visit durations. And this is looking at impressions that go through that particular ring radius area. So this gets back tested by a lot of our advertising customers. They will drop a pin on a roadway on any given US highway for most next to their billboards that they're putting up. And they will use those as impressions of understanding how many cars are driving through and seeing those billboards, and then actually associating that with the visits to those particular locations. So let's say it's a billboard for a McDonald's location that's 3 exits down from the actual billboard. Those advertisers would drop a pin there and say 80% of the people that drove through here actually then went and visited that McDonald's location.
Sure, and so the accuracy there is still that 93 to 98% range, similar to what we saw from other third-party verification?
Yep, so it's still very similar in that threshold. It does drop a little bit just because this is a lot smaller and the duration times are a lot less. So we do see this typically around like 88 to 90%.
Okay. Does that answer the question, Councilman? All right. Thank you, Matt. Please continue.
The last two pieces that I really have here are actually just the hourly visits. So understanding again which times of the day are these roadways being utilized. So as my hypothesis was, and I had that hypothesis a little bit because I was looking at the data earlier, but we can see here that there's a huge kind of a spike in visitation to this particular ring radius starting at around 2 o'clock. And it peaks around 4 o'clock, so really we can see that is likely people going to the school for pickups or even just people driving through on their way home, their commutes to and from maybe work. Now the point that does actually stand out to me a little bit is the daily visits here. And this starts to point me in the direction of likely something to do with maybe any surrounding recreation that's in the area. So soccer fields, baseball fields, those types of things, maybe at the school itself, where we see the highest frequency of travel coming through on days of the week is actually Thursday through Sunday, with those Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday days actually being on the lower end. So this could be something regards to do with that, where there is just higher frequency of visitation coming in on those days because of any recreation going on in the area. But additionally, that could be picking up, things like people just out and about and driving through the area when they wouldn't normally be, and we pick up more impressions on those days. But, that's really all that I have as far as a demonstration of Placer. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen there, and I'll really open it up to any final questions if there are any.
Business questions? What's the licensing limitations?
We go through terms quickly. What does a license cost? What is the cost of ownership? And maybe some comparables, like if we were to go to try to pursue brokering this data ourselves.
Yeah, so an annual subscription is really our subscription model. What I know has been discussed with Casey and with Chris is actually a 3-year commitment. That is what we've put together on our end as far as an order form goes. Now, that actual breakdown of pricing, typically what we do is we look at the scope of an agreement. So what I mean by that is the use cases. We also look at the population of the area. That's how we actually do our pricing. And we look at what that population is amongst other customers that we currently have that are similar size to try and remain equitable within that customer base. So that pricing, I can actually send over again the order form so that it is all in writing. I'm trying to get it loaded up. I know the first year is at $12,980, and
You're okay. Go ahead.
yeah, for some reason my document is not opening up. But the second year, I believe, is about $14,000. And the third year is near that as well. Again, I can send that over following today's conversation.
Yeah, we've got that information. We can share that.
Okay.
And yeah, just quickly, what would it cost if we tried to purchase this data ourselves instead of subscribing?
So, very transparently, you would be very hard pressed to find any sort of information very similar to Placer, all in one place. There is nobody that does what we do. That's why we are the leader in the space. But if you were to go and try and buy every piece of one of these data sets, you'd be looking at a price like that, maybe even more for each individual one. I didn't mention it as far as the subscription goes as well. It is unlimited users for the city. So any W-2 employee of the city can have access to this data that is outside of any emergency services type of professional. So firefighters, police, and paramedics. That is just based off of those partnerships that we have with mobile apps. We're required to not allow those individuals to be able to access the data themselves.
So I think that's more where I was going with licensing. So any W-2 employee. But what if we wanted to expand the use cases to partnerships or stakeholders in the community that would otherwise benefit from same information?
Chris, could you repeat that for me, please?
Sure. If we wanted to extend the partnership with other members of the community, like economic development, chamber of commerce, yeah, things like that.
So in that instance, we do license per entity. I will say that in the past, I have had similar cities want to work together, including the municipality themselves, with those organizations organizations. In that instance, I do have a lot of ability to go to my team and say, hey, we're looking to have all of these organizations sign on together. Each one would sign up with their own individual agreement, and we can likely get something squared away where there's similar pricing being offered to each one of those organizations as well. So we'll do that because, one, the city may have one use case that the, I'll say, Chamber of Commerce may not have. And we have additional data sets that you can add to a subscription, and the Chamber of Commerce may not want that portion of the subscription while the city may. So it just adds a lot of spider webbing to agreements. It's a lot easier for those agreements to be based off of each
I
entity.
think definitely one specific use case I have in mind is like, many other states that you might be in have a park district as part of the municipal government. I at least for sure want the park district to be able to have use to some of this data. I think it would be very useful as a collaborative effort.
Absolutely, and just to clarify, Matt, this is for live access and like live user access to the data. If the city was to pull reports and share them with outside entities, that's totally fine, right?
Yes and no. Built into the agreement is actually some verbiage. It's regarding research data versus placer data. So research data we would qualify as anything that you do that's marketing-based, reporting-based, where it's put into any sort of presentations. Additionally, that would then exclude sharing of reports. So I think I heard the councilman mention the Park District, right? So I just actually worked with a community out of the western suburbs of Chicago, where very, very kind of a mid-sized community, but their Park District and their city work very closely together. So what we did is we actually gave both a discount, which transparently right now you as a city at year one are getting a discount, but gave the Park District additionally a discount as well, so that they can utilize the data together and share that data back and forth.
All right, thank you. Any other questions?
So this was just kind of an introduction to see if you would be in it, what kind of questions you have. I do have a copy of the agreement that I can share with you. And then if you think of more questions, we can get those back to Matt. Just didn't want to throw something in front of you without you having all of the information. So wanted you to hear it straight from the source and be able to ask questions. And if you guys are interested in moving forward, we will get you more information before we put it on the agenda.
I think Matt did a great job of doing that. My questions are more internal with our staff, what we're going to do, who's going to be able to have the time, energy, if we're spending $12,000, $14,000, $15,000, at the end of this, $50,000 total 3-year commitment. Is that worth it? Are we going to get that money out of it and have somebody dedicated to pulling this information? Sure, if we're working with IDOT, we can extract something, but is that worth $12,000 to extract bits and pieces here and there? Sure. If we can't share this with other entities to help them or do certain things, is it wasted resources because we got this great platform there, but we don't have the staff or somebody just dedicated to. And would this be a Kathleen thing? Would she spend her time in it, I don't know.
I think just about all of the departments would be able to, those that are able to would, but we'll put a little bit more information together for you and present it.
And
Sure.
we'll be able to get this presentation so we can look at it.
Yeah, we'll get back in touch with Matt and have him see if he can get us, kind of some snapshots of the graphs and things that he was looking at so you guys can view those better instead of a projector. I know, it's hard to see.
It was really
those
hard for
details.
me to get a good grasp on what was even going on because I couldn't see until I finally moved. So I would really like the opportunity to be able to study that information.
Absolutely.
I would like to study it, and I'd like to see our department heads come up with their use for this.
Okay.
And get justifiable use from every department. If we're going to spend this kind of money towards this, how would they see using it, and would it be value added, or are we just spending money, kind of like Adam said earlier, are we just spending things on resources that are great to have, but are they really benefiting us because we don't have the staff to manage it?
Yeah. We can get all that for.
Yeah, and I know before, this was brought up here with our former city manager, and he really took a beating over this information, and I think it was very unfair, that he got, beat up so bad over it, when all he was doing was trying to, bring information into the city that we could use to basically to help, and that people didn't understand. So I think if we do decide to move forward with this, we would need a platform that we could present to our customers so they could understand what information is being collected and exactly how we're going to use it and how their personal information is being protected so that they can feel confident that it is not being distributed to bad users.
Yeah, Matt did say that he could provide us with kind of a one-pager of what information they get, what information they don't get, how it can be used, so we'll make sure we get that from him.
I think that'd be very important, otherwise, we'll never sell it to the public if we don't have that information.
I think it's great. I think we can use it for a lot of good resources that need to be done in the city. Just looking at the roads, how often, what are the peaks of this road, all that stuff. You take, how many times I walked into Cerno's, Walmart, during hog days, during this. I think the information is great. I love all that, but we need to take it a step further and look at how are we going to use this information to forward the city.
It would be even beneficial when we were trying to bring businesses into Kewanee so we can see what we're drawing from, out of town areas and what's coming to Kewanee.
And that was the biggest thing, was the economic development aspect of it, and everything else was, so we'll get some stuff
You're
together
going to
for
get a
you.
breakdown of the restaurants and, where we see where we're failing to bring people in, and stuff, so.
Yep, and he did share a little bit of that, like we looked at the Quad City area and where our residents are going, and he's like, maybe you need another coffee shop, or maybe you need another, not QSRs, but, more sit-down restaurants and things like that. So he did share quite a bit of that in the presentation that he gave Chris and I.
I'm definitely interested in learning more, but it's not as simple as just saying yes or no. We have to sell this to a public that is historically, very, very cautious. I will just leave it at that.
Yeah, that's going to depend a lot on the internal use cases. So they have to be very strong.
I think that's true, but as you pointed out, if you're going to 53rd Street and going to the shops, you are already participating in this system.
And we tried to explain that it doesn't matter.
I understand, but that's what we need to educate the public on, is that we are not creating something new.
We're
just buying the information that's
right,
already
and I understand that. I'm not arguing.
Yeah.
I'm just saying we have to sell that to the public because a lot of the people that gave us their opinion when this was brought up before, they didn't understand that, and they didn't want to understand that, to be flat honest.
And I think that was part of...
It just had to be a sell for us.
Yeah, that was part of the problem, is the name got out there and people did their own research before we had a chance to present it. And so there just was no point in going forward because they made up their own mind. That's why we wanted Matt directly to be here to share with you and answer those questions.
Additionally, I think I would like to see, before we see this on a voting agenda item, is an analysis of alternatives. Is this the only product that's out there, or why is this the best product for us to partner with?
Yeah, we definitely need options.
If there are.
Yeah, I'm seeing this as a couple meeting discussion item, at least.
And while he's here, do we have any more questions for Matt?
I don't.
Matt, thank you. I appreciate your time with us this evening.
I appreciate you guys having me on to present again. It has been a pleasure. And if there are any questions, I will follow up with Casey and Chris. But if there are any questions from any of the council members, Casey, Chris, feel free to give them my email or my cell number. You have every right to give me a call or shoot me an email. But I'm more than happy to answer all the questions that I can.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Matt, you live locally, don't you?
Semi-locally. I'm about an hour southwest of the Kewanee. I actually have some family that lives there, and I am a long time, I'll say, partial resident of the Illinois River Valley as an outdoorsman. So I've been in the area basically my entire life.
Well, brilliant presentation. Thank you very much for your time, Matt. We'll be in touch.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you guys for having me, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, man. All right, we'll move on to item B, bill number 26-20, resolution awarding demolition of 314 South Cottage Street. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
And discussion?
The only question I have is, do we have anybody looking to possibly build on this? Do we need to do the clean dirt, or are we good moving forward with just the concrete and brick as info?
I've been contacted by anybody.
Okay.
But I think, we had a conversation earlier, and I think that is, in the opinion of myself and at least one other council member, a prime location that I think somebody could very possibly be interested in.
That was going to be my next question, is the location is not a bad location.
No, it's not bad at all. I'd love to live right there.
It's a great neighborhood.
I was curious about the agreement with the owner, and it says that we received at least a statement of no objection to the demolition.
Yeah, it's a consent for demolition.
So, because we don't recoup these types of funds nearly ever, I was wondering about requesting the owner to cede the lot to us so that we, had a say in its further development.
I mean, I suppose that could be pursued. You definitely want to pursue that after the demolition rather than before, because if you take ownership of the lot, it now is a municipal property, and we have to follow a whole new set of rules. Even though it's the same exact building, nothing changed, but because it's municipal property, it changes.
Say more, please. I don't understand the impact of what you're saying.
So the NESHAP regulations, if it's a municipal property, if we own it, we have to go through a whole nother aspect of inspections and possible abatement. NESHAP doesn't require that if it's privately owned and if it's less than 5 residential units. So if it's a duplex, triplex, or fourplex, the NESHAP regulations are okay with just the demolition happening. But as soon as it goes over 5, it becomes a facility, or as soon as it's owned by the municipality, it now meets the definition of municipal, or of a facility, and that throws us in a whole other realm of costs. This demolitions like this are probably triple or more.
Because of bureaucratic red tape.
State inspections, I mean, can we just say plain language what we would have to spend money on? Like what else?
So you have to have the property inspected for hazardous materials and possible abatement of those materials.
But as it stands right now, we can dump it all on the ground?
By the NESHAP.
Private person, we cannot.
Well, if it's a privately owned property.
Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as it's owned by municipality, then
We're under a whole set of different rules than a private entity is, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, then I move to the dirt.
With the possibility that it could eventually, come back to us, I think that would be prudent for us to consider, given the backfill of dirt.
Relatively small increase in price for this bidder.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, it's not much.
Is there anything, Zach, that we can do on our end to get a, not ownership, but also a letter of intent that they intend to, after we do this, because I don't want to see us spend $8,500 and now they've got a clean lot that they can turn around and sell, where they're giving us the rights to do it, and with our willingness to put clean dirt in it, spend a little bit more money. Is there something we can do that doesn't get us in that NESHAP regulations and cost more money, but also gives us the ability to have some sort of letter of commitment or whatever post demolition.
With the way that we would end up having to have sold this lot, I don't think you're going to be able to put that level of restriction on this for what you're looking for. I understand you're wanting a restrictive covenant, it's really what you're wanting. And I don't believe that you're going to be able to do that with how we have to sell property when we have to sell it.
So we just do this and then hope that the owner will.
It's spinning the wheel.
But we are going to put a lien on this property.
Yes,
Right?
so if they sell the property, that's less money that they're getting.
And we'll still have that to discuss.
Yeah.
So.
We don't have to waive any liens. We historically do, but we don't have to.
Right. I guess then, for me personally, I'd like to go with consider going with the.
I would like the dirt fill myself.
And I would like to make sure that we put like an asterisk next to this one so that when it does come back, somebody looking to buy it, we don't just say, okay, we'll get rid of the lien, but we have, it may be 2 years down the road and we have forgotten this conversation here, that we.
Right. Maybe change by then.
Yeah.
And in the future, just kind of be handling these things, what I also asked Keith about was, I know the roof makes the structure inhabitable, but I'd like to see us get to a place where we're not just demolishing these, but trying to do what some other communities are doing and rehabilitating these. And I just wonder about the foundation, because at least on the south side, with the foundation exposed, it does look like decent condition concrete block. So here we're potentially, taking off a bad house, maybe on a good foundation. And I think we could do more there, is what I'm trying to say.
So as I mentioned in our little chat for the meeting was, I have spoke to Katie about trying to keep our eyes open for grants for that purpose, because as the years have gone by, and I've been in this seat, the number of properties that I'm looking at for potential demos is slowly becoming, well, not slowly, rapidly becoming fewer and fewer. And we should be looking at more about fixing what's here rather than tearing it down. So we've had that discussion.
Wasn't there some USDA money a while ago that people could apply for and get to help with this?
So we tried to get, there was a grant that was, we applied for, we didn't get it. Hopefully when I come back again, we could, because that was a huge number. If I'm not mistaken, I want to say it was a couple million or north of that. And we could spend up to, I'm not even exactly, but I want to say it was around 50,000 per property that we could spend. And I was thinking to myself, man, we could just damage that really fast.
Yeah.
I mean, we could fix a lot of properties, but we didn't get it.
Yeah. Do we know of any other communities that are utilizing programs like that?
I don't off the top of my head. I can certainly
I've read about
ask.
some, but I can't think of off the top of my head where it also.
Yeah, I would be curious to, and that might answer some of the questions about how they actually, accomplish it.
Yes, exactly.
It might be something we're just, simply overlooking. But
Some of them are using, kind of like when we were discussing the TIF options, some of them are using TIF functions to do some of this.
And I think that's something that we need to explore in the future, is set aside $50,000, homeowners can get up to $5,000 TIF money if they call them that.
And
I
like,
like that option that a TIF attorney has.
like Les Colin's requested, the extra percent tax. I've seen other communities that have applied a tax to fix up homes, which I think we need to tread lightly there.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we can't.
One thing I do want to say, though, demolition is a last resort. And as part of that process, the property owner is given the opportunity to investigate what they can end up doing to try to fix it if there is a road back. And that conclusion is that it's going to cost more to fix the property than it's worth at that point. Is one of the findings that court is making, is it's either so unsafe that it is not rehabilitable on that, or it is too far gone and would cost more than it's worth to fix.
I mean, it is a lot of money to rehab a house. I know when I moved into my house years ago, I mean, it looked like it was ready to be torn down. It cost me a fortune to rehab it.
I mean, we've got cases, we've got cases Zach and I have been working on in court with a couple right now where we're trying to figure out a way to help them, get their house repaired. They got a roof issue, they've got a siding issue, and they've got a garage issue. And, we put them to the USDA office to try and get some assistance through the Department of Rural Development, and struck out. We tried another organization, Rebuilding Henry County. We struck out.
And the issue in part is you have to have buy-in from that landowner. We can only do so much here. There's information that has to be submitted. There's a whole process to that that's got to come from both sides.
I've seen other communities that have, like Weathersfield has a really strong program for, construction, but the ones that I've seen where they've had schools get involved, it takes so long because they only have a set number of hours that they can work during the day or a week, so it takes a very long time. So I don't know if that would be a, resource. I think it'd be probably too time consuming.
So one thing that folks could look at, I'm not overstepping at the house here, but, we have the targeted minor home repair program, but it's pretty restricted. You have to be in certain areas, and the money is, in some cases, not enough to take care of some of these properties. So maybe looking at restructuring that program, for our local program. I mean, we can't fix hundreds of houses with, the money that might be available in that fund. So maybe we could look at modifying that.
But if we can modify that and help people get their house fixed before it reaches that point.
Exactly.
That's something we need to consider too.
What's the utilization on that program now? Is it being utilized at all? Yeah.
Very little.
Very, very little.
Okay.
What's the stipulation? What you said is restricted, why?
You have to be in a very specific area, like little areas of town, kind of high vis.
And I understand the concept of that when it was first drafted, but there's times that we've had to say no because, well, you don't live in this special area. Yeah. And it's like,
well, who defines that area?
I'm not too sure how that's defined.
It was.
I'm not too sure how it was defined. It was set up.
Yeah, before.
If I could make a suggestion, maybe between you three, you can sit down and maybe take a look at that. And
absolutely.
Give us some suggestions for restructuring it that we can look at, and then we can add our input and maybe get that to the point where people are taking advantage of it.
I mean, notwithstanding the whole conversation we're having, I mean, we want people to utilize the program anyway, so.
Yes.
The money's only good if anybody, if somebody uses it.
But we also acknowledge the business case that you bring up. Exactly. And that's, sometimes we have to help change the numbers. And so I'd be curious to see if we can partner with some of our local, construction agencies and say, hey, take a look at this house. What if we tore down the top for you? Is the foundation worth using for you? I don't know. Any way we can to collaboratively get to a point to where we want to go. But I know that's well beyond this right here. Thanks for letting us have the opportunity. Yeah.
So we're going to go with the dirt.
Yeah, that's well.
So we've got a motion on this, so I think we probably need to add the stipulation to use dirt.
So it's written where you just have to tell me which one and who. So I'm going with Clean Fill Martin Brothers.
Yes.
Everybody's in, okay, then we're good to vote.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Comnic.
Aye.
Councilmember Colomer.
Aye.
Councilmember Cernovich.
Aye.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
Mayor Moore.
Aye. Item C, Bill 26-21, resolution to affirm the mayor's recommendation for appointments to various commissions and boards. Do you have a motion?
So moved. Second.
And this would be for our finance director, our acting finance director, interim, Courtney, to become a member of the fire pension board, which is common. That was a seat that was held by our former finance director, so it would just be moving her into that spot. Any questions, concerns?
I guess I'm concerned about any potential conflict of interest here.
That already exists, I would say, if there's going to be a conflict. That's my opinion. If there's going to be a conflict, it would already have reared its ugly head.
Explain more, please. I guess I'm not clear. This is a board that votes on whether or not pensions should be awarded and then how they're handled, but also like if should one of these people become disabled or have to request early pension or something like that, won't she be a voting member? And is there a process for her to recuse herself or?
She can abstain, just like you guys can.
Yeah, just like we do here, she'd have to abstain if it was a personal matter with a relative that's on the department now. She would not be able to be involved in that vote.
Okay. So we've got it covered.
I mean, you've had the same, you've had to follow the same thing you had to do.
Well, for sure, I just want to make sure that.
Absolutely, you're 100% right.
Yes, oh yeah.
And you're definitely right to be asking, so.
Yep, and one of the reasons why we typically put the finance director in there is because they're the ones that can access all of the reports that they need, so it's just much easier to have that person a part of the board and to be able to share that information quicker, easier, more effectively. But yes, should that situation arise, she absolutely will need to recuse herself.
So other question, she's interim, that doesn't mean she has the job. If we were to find another finance director, would she be taken off the board and replaced by the finance director?
She can stay in that role,
She
but she
can
still
stay-
have access to everything.
Yeah, well, that would just be whether she wanted to or not. If she did not want to, once we named another finance director, then she
If we did, yeah.
step down, we like to do it.
Okay.
Or her term could, expire. Any other questions, concerns, comments? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Colomer.
Aye.
Councilmember Cernovich.
Aye.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
Councilmember Comnic.
Aye.
Mayor Moore.
Aye. It's time for communications, and I'm going to open up tonight. I want to start with Weathersfield Schools has two girls' teams that had fantastic seasons this year. First, the girls' varsity basketball team recently competed at the Super Sectionals, the final step before competing at state. Unfortunately, they lost their bid for the state appearance, but it was a fantastic season nonetheless. I know it's disappointing for them not to make that final step, but I'm sure they're still extremely proud of their accomplishments, as I know everyone here is proud of them. And just tonight, the Weathersfield 7th grade Lady Geese played their sectional championship, and they won in 2 straight games. And so they will be competing for the state title in Brimfield this coming Friday and Saturday. And something I have to add about this volleyball team, they are now 24-0, and as you know, the volleyball matches are the best out of 3. They have never had to play a third game. They have won every single game that they have played.
That's impressive.
Very impressive. And now the news that I really want to get out there. I received a phone call this afternoon from a very, very excited Mark McKennis. The city got very good news. The numbers I'm about to share are raw and have not been finalized. For the 4th quarter of 2025, the city's retail sales were up from the same time period in 2024 by 6.2%, with total sales reaching at that same time period to $77 million. And overall for the year 2025, Kewanee's retail sales were up a total of 9.4% for the year compared to 2024. And I'd like to remind you, 2024 was a record sales year, so 2025 sets a new record in sales. Total sales for 2025 finished just under $300 million at $297 million. And also bear in mind, these numbers at this time do not account for inflation, but I can assure you, a 9.4% increase more than covers any effect inflation would have on the sales numbers. So we're still seeing a substantial increase. So with that being said, I just want to thank all of Kewanee residents that shop local, and I'd like to extend that thank you to all our area residents that travel to Kewanee for their shopping needs. And last, I debated whether I wanted to say this, but I'm going to go ahead. I recently had a conversation with a resident about the licensed golf carts and similar vehicles being allowed on the streets in Kewanee. He was in a golf cart at the time and was happy the city finally addressed the issue. He then went on to complain that Kewanee's license fees were too high compared to several surrounding communities that he felt inclined to tell me all about. And his next question was, and I quote, "So what's Kewanee doing with all that money?" It sounded a little accusatory to me, and I did not appreciate it. So I would just like to invite that citizen as well as any other person that may have questions concerning the city budget to go to the city webpage and do a little reading. Every penny the city spends is accounted for in our budget. Nothing is ever spent without being noted in our budget and in every single council packet that goes out before all council meetings. The budget and council packets are available to the public anytime they wish to look at it. We have numerous checks and balances in place that would make it extremely difficult, if not impossible, to embezzle from the city and not get caught. That is all I have, and so, Councilman Collimer.
Yeah, so I just I'm gonna take a few minutes here and kind of talk about the city. On 2/9, my family received some information that no family ever wants to hear. My daughter, Renly, had a tumor that we ended up having to get rushed to University of Iowa to get removed. In that time frame of us finding out, this community rallied together for her. I see Keith has got a shirt on tonight, and I will tell you that the amount of people that have done things for my family, the schools, the community, is unlike any other community that I've ever been in, and I'm proud to be a part of. There's so many people that I can't even thank, and I don't want to leave anybody out by singling out certain people. You guys know who you are who've stepped up and helped out. But through that hard time, to have a community like this step up and do the things for my family, it's pretty amazing. And you know, some people complain about Kewanee, but I'll tell you what, I had firsthand been able to see what this town can do when they rally around somebody, you know, especially my daughter being 6 years old and going through such a traumatic brain surgery. She's home, she's doing well. She'll be returning to school sometime soon. But I can't thank this community enough for everybody that's stood by us, said prayers and thanks and done anything and everything to help us through this tough time. So I just want to thank this community. I'm just truly honored to be a part of Kewanee and to have, you know, raised my family here and for them to see what this community can do. So thank you. And I know Renly appreciates it. When we got the escort home from the hospital, it was something pretty special to see her light up when the community was doing that, all for her. So thank you for everybody that was here.
Hey, could I just ask one, didn't you have a nationally known recording country artist reach out to you as well?
We did. We had Ella Langley reach out to us to set up a FaceTime with her and message her because of one of the videos when she was doing physical therapy, which is pretty awesome. So yeah, having Ella Langley even reach out.
Yeah, I think that's pretty awesome.
That's pretty cool. She even reshared the video and stuff, so
yeah,
pretty awesome.
I want to make sure that was brought up so people could hear that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's pretty neat.
That is pretty cool, and I know Renly is doing well, and she is just happy that this community has stood by her through all this.
You know, she's a sweet little girl, so I mean, I'm glad she's doing well.
Yes, thank you. That's all I have.
Councilman Cernovich.
I'm gonna leave that right there.
Yeah, how do you follow?
Yep, here for opinion. Nothing down on that.
Councilman Baker.
You don't talk, but I guess what I'm saying. Back from Dr. talking to you. So, I was gonna email, I forgot, but I don't forget. I talked to the superintendent once, so you might know what, they have a community garden, but there's no water line there. And I don't know if they talk to Chris and I already going to do Casey's about hookup, and they're wondering, they said it was pretty expensive for hookup, and because they're doing a community garden, it's for the school, and for the kids, for class. Is there a way that they can be discounted or not so much? I don't know, I come out of situation, rules, so I had a problem thinking that I said I'd bring it to them.
Is the water line there and they just need hooked up to it?
I don't know. I was going to talk to him earlier, I forgot.
Well, do you know where the garden is located?
So they bought a lot. There's what's the house, there's a lot back there where Park's at.
It was donated to them.
Yeah, it was donated. That's the lot they're at. And they're saying that,
there's no water, there's that side of the street.
yeah, it was pretty, I can't remember how much it was. It's pretty hefty. And they're wondering, could they get it this time? I didn't promise anything. I said, I'll see what it is. I knew before we had someone that had to get hooked up for a house. It was pretty expensive before, so.
We just need to be careful about setting a precedent.
Well, it was just fine. I didn't know if they could do it because of for the school or not.
I was gonna say two things. We can look into where the closest water main, water line is and see what our options are. But as far as setting a precedent, like, then you're getting into taxpayer dollars. Like, we're spending taxpayer dollars, and we've had this conversation with another business in town, and so ultimately, we would bring that to you guys because that's your decision on how you want to spend taxpayer dollars. That's,
Which is fine. I don't want to,
Yeah.
we're talking about the Wellsville, say they got a hookup for their water garden. They have a garden there, that lot, and it's pretty expensive. They didn't know because since it was for the school and for a class and for a community garden, could there be a cheaper price to hook up?
And they said this would potentially benefit the city if you open to anybody.
Yeah, this community garden is open to anybody.
So what I'm hearing is an intergovernmental agreement of some sort.
Yeah, what we provided was raw equipment and labor costs. That's it. So materials, labor, equipment, that's what it costs. That's what's going to cost the city to perform that work.
Right.
So, any reduction in that would be essentially a donation.
Because they said, once again, this is for the whole community, anybody can wear the garden, and so that's what my presented for.
and they do receive TIF funds for their capital improvements, so that might be considered one of them. Just some avenues to look. Chris and I can talk and see what our options are and bring it back to you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Anything else?
Kudos to Wellsville, varsity team, and celebrate team.
Pretty awesome.
I'll be there for
I was able to watch the 7th grade online before our meeting started. They made quick work of that one.
They sure did.
Over half an hour, about 35 minutes.
Sure. Thank you. That's it.
Councilman Gottlieb, last but not least.
Well, I just have 45 minutes worth of things here, so we'll run through these real quick.
Motion to adjourn.
No, I just want to say, we had the awards, pretty much at the start of the meeting, and I am a huge proponent of everybody knowing CPR. I thankfully have never had to use it, and hope I don't, but it's something that a minimal investment of your time and effort can have such a rewarding experience, that we saw here. So I would always push for that. And then to stack on to what Chris had said, with his family and that, it's amazing to me, and I've thought that ever since we moved to Kewanee, way back in 2000, that the town, it's like a small town. It always has its little problems, little internal squabbles and whatnot. But man, when there's something happens, they always come together. And it's just like, we're not a huge economic powerhouse or anything, but we always seem to come together and help, where it's needed. So it's just, it amazes me every time, and I you don't want people to have to go through that kind of stuff, but knowing the community is there to help people is it's an overwhelming thing. So I can only imagine what you feel.
I mean, it really is, and I'm unprovoked, and we're sitting in the hospital, people are doing things, without even asking. It wasn't even a thought, like, hey, this is what we're doing, this is what we're setting up, we're gonna do this, and rallying around her was pretty awesome, so.
Yeah.
I agree.
And then last but not least, St. Patrick's Day is my favorite holiday of the year. And of course, you have to celebrate responsibly, and I believe I saw an email from the police chief that reiterated such point. So keep that in mind as you go through the holiday. But do celebrate, because it is my favorite.
I've already bought my corned beef and cabbage to make.
One step ahead of me. That's all I have.
Sure, time for some Girl Scout cookies.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, Girl Scout cookies.
That it, Mike?
Yeah, that's it.
All right, and I believe we have some city announcements.
We do. Just a reminder again to residents that burn days will not begin until April, and that is when landscape pickup will resume. The citywide cleanup has been scheduled for Saturday, August 6th from 7 a.m. to noon. For more details.
Wait a minute.
No, just
April.
No, June. June. Yep, no, it's written here as June. Not sure where August came from. Saturday, June 6th from 7 a.m. to noon. For more details, see our Facebook page, or you can pick up a flyer here at City Hall. And then the annual spring cleanup by cemetery staff in the Kewanee cemeteries is scheduled to begin March 20th and end March 31st. During this period, all decorations will be picked up and discarded. Anyone wishing to save their decorations must pick them up before the 20th. The cemetery department asks that no new decorations be put out until after the cleanup period has ended. This applies to Pleasant View, South Pleasant View, Mount Olivet, St. Mary's, Kewanee, Russian, and Weathersfield cemeteries.
Okay, how about a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second?
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Cernovich.
Aye.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
Councilmember Comnic.
Aye.
Councilmember Colomer.
Aye.
Mayor Moore.
Aye.